News You Need is a look at current events and how they affect the college community and beyond. And now here's the host of News You Need, Dr. Ed Simpson. Dalen? Hey, everybody. Different from the typical lineup that we've got today. Dr. Simpson's out of town, and Dr. Hale's doing some presentations. So it's me. It's Dr. Martin, or Wilbur, or Mean Willie Green, depending on who you know me as. We're here to talk with USM students about the news, what's going on in the news, how it affects them, how it affects their friends and family and things such as that. And what better way to do it than with the best people in the world, the USM students. So that's where we are. That's sort of the lineup. Let's go around the room and let's give us a little bio. Give us a nickel bio about what's going on.
Okay. Hi, I'm Dalen. I'm a USM student. I'm a junior, and I'm a graphic design major, and I work with a lot of different organizations, so I'm very active in student life.
Are you from Mississippi, or are you from here in the state?
Mississippi, Natchez.
Natchez, oh, right on over there on the river.
My name's Charlie Bond. I'm a PhD student here. I actually just defended my dissertation in biology focused on fungi and microbiomes in drying out streams. I am here representing the USM Mushroom Society, and we do a lot of outreach and education involving fungi and also just leading hikes at the Lake Thoreau Environmental Center and other parks around Hattiesburg for students.
You'd mentioned something about the very fuzzy magnolia blossom there. Or cone?
Yeah, exactly.
What's up with that?
So this is a fungus called Xylaria magnoliae, and its spores actually will enter the magnolia flower, similar to pollen, and start to colonize the flower. So then when the cone develops from the flower and it hits the ground, the fungus is already inside of it, and it grows. For anybody listening who can't see, it looks like a bunch of tentacles coming out of a magnolia cone. So the USM Mushroom Society has a petition to make this state fungus or state mushroom of Mississippi, since we're the magnolia state.
Right, yeah.
We have the magnolia flower on our flag, so maybe the fungus that develops in that flower would be a good state fungus.
Awesome, man. Thanks a lot. Yourself, sir.
Yes, hi. I'm Miles Bridges. I am involved in SM2 Creative Broadcasting on campus. I'm a junior, and I'm a video arts major.
Where are you from?
I'm from, like, a small little place east of Jackson called Morton, Mississippi, in Scott County. Really quiet and quaint and tiny, but, you know, it's where I kind of, you know, got my start as a human being.
Right. Plenty of woods around there to go tromp through for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And I didn't ask you your location. Where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Decatur, Georgia, in the metro Atlanta area, and did undergrad at the University of Georgia and moved around and eventually ended up here in the PhD program.
Awesome. All right, so what we do here is we kind of chop it up, see what's going on in the news, and sort of see how it affects people's lives, how it affects your family, and what you guys are talking about. What's going on in your peer group? What do you guys talk about? Dalen?
I really like to touch on what's been going on, especially with politics, because we're starting to get more and more involved in it and seeing, like, for example, the mayor of New York be elected and just seeing these different figures actually rise and they want to make a change. So in my peer groups, we're genuinely talking about how this is going to affect us because we're the upcoming generation and we're going to see the results of these people now.
Right. In fact, that was one of the topics I had on the show for today, and we'll hit up with that here in just a second. What about you guys, Charlie? Or Charles?
Charles, at the end of December, Dr. Bond. I am also basically obsessed with the political situation right now. I was following not only the mayor's race very closely, but my older sibling, shout out Kelsey Bond, was also running as a DSA candidate for Atlanta City Council and just won with 64% of the vote. So Atlanta also has some Zoran Mamdani adjacent people running on affordability and those kinds of issues.
And they had some public service jobs, service commission jobs that ended up flipping from a Republican to the Democratic.
Which is going to determine how much is being invested in energy, specifically with the question of data centers, because Georgia Power wanted to, I'd have to check the exact numbers, basically double the amount of power generated in the state for the purpose of data centers for AI. which
That's a lot.
is also going to use a lot of water. And I don't know how familiar y'all are with the water wars in Georgia and Alabama, but water is a scarce resource that people
It
don't
is.
realize is used by these data centers. So it's not just energy, it's water and people's power bills, because this AI, it's not necessarily making a profit at this point. So how are they going to pay the power bill for all these data centers?
Sure.
And, yeah, so it's a big issue.
Interesting. What about you, Miles?
Personally, I'm not as well versed in politics as much as I'd like to be, but I also know that it's ignorant to not engage and not take in what is going on around the world. So I try to consciously observe and go about what is happening while like navigating my day-to-day life, which
Right on.
should be more than what I am doing, and I'm working to keep myself more involved than I have been in the past. So it's more of a conscious effort for me right now.
It's a daily thing. It goes by fast. Geez, sorry. Since you mentioned it first, let's talk about the elections. We just had elections on the 4th in several places: Mayor of New York, Governor of Virginia, Governor of New Jersey. Mississippi had quite a few.
Yeah.
In fact, Mississippi Democrats have broken the supermajority of Republicans in the Senate. And so voters elected Democrats into 2 seats held by Republicans, cutting that number from 38 to 34. 30. Wait, hold on. Let me get my numbers. From 36 to 34, which is 1 less than they need for the supermajority. Has that come up, or have the elections come up with you and your peer group?
Absolutely, because I work for the organization Mississippi Votes.
Oh,
and
right on.
I'm a DI fellow, and we're dedicated to making sure that there are resources for people to get registered to vote. So especially in my generation and on campus, we do like different events and tablings to make sure that we get people registered, especially with the freshmen, because a lot of people underestimate how much their voice matters and how much their vote matters. So seeing the result of this voter effort that we're making is really motivational to all of us.
Yeah, I mean, what it seems to me to say is that people are starting to see a lot of people that feel like they were disaffected, that they were like, well, it doesn't really matter who's in the office for me, but they're like, so I'm just not going to vote. But I think a lot of people at this point said, I should better do something anyway. Is that sort of a general feeling for everyone?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, so I did vote here in Mississippi, and I didn't necessarily see candidates that I thought reflected all of my values, but I still voted and made sure, okay, between these choices, who do I think is going to better reflect what I would like to see?
Right.
Seeing the actual action that is taken by people to, overturn the Democrat voter rate, it's something that is cut into the bleak stuff that has been all around us, and actually seeing a change and actually seeing something that has been worked towards through the efforts of people has been, I mean, obviously really good. But I think just actively seeing this happen is motivation to get more involved and be like, okay, we're actually capable of rising, and this is not a time to just drown, because it really feels like it. And the ability to resist that is kind of the most important thing. So, actively seeing what we've been going through lately has been really good as far as, the voters.
A lot of, and after the election, a lot of people put their head in the sand and were like, oh, geez, I don't want to do it. And one of the main things is that people were like, you have to remain engaged, you have to remain involved and whatnot, or it's just going to roll you under. Let's take a little break, and we'll hear from a couple of sponsor messages, and then we'll come back and chop it up some more. All right, you're listening to News You Need on Southern Miss Radio. Sponsorship comes from American Graphics, located at 8 Commercial Warehouse Drive in Hattiesburg.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
All right, we're back. You're listening to News You Need on Southern Miss Radio, where we chop it up with students about things that are going on in the news. Uh, what video producer Isabella Michaud said earlier that ICE was on campus, and she dodged them around. So certainly something to consider. Um, what do you have? You guys had any effects from ICE raids and people being rounded up? Is that something that has touched any of you, or you know much about any of that?
I've seen people and their friendships fall apart because they see in real life, in real time, their other friends not really or make jokes about it. And these are real people with
Wow.
real lives, and it's their families that could be in danger. And seeing your friend joke about your trauma and what could possibly happen to you has really caused a moment of reflection for a lot of people, I think.
Wow, yeah, that would that would certainly do it. I don't have anyone necessarily affected directly from it, but of course, a lot of businesses and a lot of other people will certainly be affected from it anyway, for sure. I think it's something that's fairly interesting, and I don't think that it bodes well, to be honest, but that's just, what I think.
Yeah, and I don't personally know anybody who's been affected by, the ICE raids, and, I've seen the videos on the streets of Chicago and LA, which are, in my opinion, disturbing. But I'll say, from my standpoint as a researcher, we depend in this country on foreign PhDs, foreign students for doing basic research, and we're scaring people away. And that's the future of science and technology in this country, is being an environment that is supportive of people who want to come here and want to do good work that's important to our society.
Right on.
Living in Morton, that whole area is well known for around a few years ago in 2018, an ice raid happening in Morton.
Sure.
That was like massive. It wiped out several people in, our local chicken plant and everything. My town has been very well versed with ice raids and all of that. I directly helped people get food and shelter whenever it happened in 2018, 2019. And watching it come around again has been just absolutely petrifying. And being somebody that has directly contributed with the aftermath of all of that and seeing it happen all over again and hearing like, oh, they were in this town, they got these people that are just like this close to me. It's terrifying. And the fact that it is terrifying for me, imagine how life-altering it is for the people that are beholding all of this.
Directly affected.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I guess Morton, with being such a small town, with having that much of the workforce gone, probably was a big hit to a lot of businesses around there.
It was a massive hit for most of the businesses because that was the majority of the town. The majority of the town is people of color, black people, and people of Latin descent, and that's kind of, I guess that's kind of the lifeblood of the town. And to watch it be directly hit and directly injected with something violent and terrible like that, it was hard the last time, and it was even harder now, being older and understanding what is going on now. It's just been grim.
Something else that's really huge, and springboarding a little bit off of what you were just talking about, Charlie, Dr. Bond. The government shutdown is in its 38th day, and for people that are not aware, typically the big beautiful bill was not passed because a lot of Democratic lawmakers were advocating for reversals on cuts to Medicare and the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. Jeez Louise. And you had mentioned research and having people, not only foreign PhDs coming into research, but also funding research and funding science research is affected, probably doesn't touch people immediately, and they might not have even considered it, but it certainly has a trickle-down effect.
Yeah, I mean, even more than a trickle down, I mean, I think we're seeing compounding issues where before the current administration started making cuts across the board and before the shutdown, we already were having a situation where academia is being stretched really thin. and our ability to do research is being stretched more and more thin. And now we're seeing a situation where it's not, I mean, my experience is mostly in academia, where now we've cut our grad student budget in the biology department, and we have college sophomores as the TAs in biology classes. We have people who took the class last semester teaching freshmen in several biology classes.
That's kind of crazy.
And that's, in my experience, unprecedented. And that's just going to keep getting tighter and tighter. And the shutdown is a whole separate issue from that, where now you have an acute problem of agencies that are supposed to be doing things like monitoring for diseases that will affect our crops, making sure our water is safe to drink, making sure our food is safe to eat. And I think people aren't even really aware that a lot of these functions have been happening in the background, and what happens when you suddenly take all of that away.
Well, certainly more direct things that have happened. SNAP, with the November benefits, were taken away. An average of 41.7 million people, 12% of the U.S. population, receive SNAP benefits. Mississippi being the third highest, and we've got 18.4% of the population in Mississippi that receive SNAP benefits. Has that affected you or your family or anyone that you know at this point?
It hasn't affected me directly, but I've absolutely seen the domino effect of it, like people stealing because they need to have something to eat. And I feel like it's becoming a war on sympathy, whether it be with the SNAP benefits and people needing resources and with ICE and everything, and people are starting to be detached and they're like, okay, it doesn't affect me, so it doesn't matter. And it's quite simply not the case, because all of these things stem from this one ideology of that mindset. So the only way that we can really actually have some type of change is if everybody starts to understand that the SNAP benefits, allowing people to have a safe space living here, all of these things are privileges that we have to have, but we all have to be on the same level and understand that all of these things are monumental in consideration.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have left their empathy for others somewhere else at this point in some ways, and I think that that's probably problematic. It would be interesting to know if the Eagle's Nest food pantry on campus has been hit very hard, or the other food pantries like Extra Table and the Edward Street Fellowship, how they've been hit by it. In addition to the SNAP benefits, flight cuts are being underway from the the FAA. Around 800 flights at main hubs across the U.S. have been canceled today. Now, that is not going to affect a lot of people directly. I mean, statistically, there's something in the neighborhood of 25% of people take 3 flights or more per year, so it's not really an effect directly on a lot of people, but it's going to really back up a lot of airports and change a lot of people's holiday plans, I would assume, since Thanksgiving and Christmas being huge, travel holidays, getting back to home and family and things like that. Does that come up with any of you guys' conversations at all?
Yeah, I'm actually getting ready to go on a trip where I'm trying to figure out if this, because between hubs, they're supposedly not canceled, but for like Jackson to Houston, it might be canceled. So I'm waiting to get an email to see if my flight's canceled. But I think it's an interesting thing to note that, like, with the SNAP benefits, this is an area where it's people who we might not hear their voices very loudly, but with airplane flights, like, I mean, typically you're kind of a higher class person if you're flying a lot. So I think this is something where we might not be hearing as loud of a voice about SNAP as we're about to be about these flights, because you're going to see people with maybe a little more influence complaining really loudly that their flights got canceled.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that it has to come to that sort of level, but it certainly seems to be that way.
I have not been directly impacted by it, but what I've observed is that it feels like we've just entered like revenge territory from these people. Like, you know, I'll cut this off, you didn't vote for me, you're not this way, so I'll just take this away from you. I'll start directly harming all of you. That'll show you. That's really what I've been seeing a lot. Like, you talk about like an empathy epidemic of some kind. It seems to me like it's just a pure, well, it seems to me it very much is just a pure hate regime. Just cutting down as many of the little people as we can just because you didn't vote for me at the last election, or you didn't support me in this way, or my policies, my way or the highway, that type of thing. And man, what a bleak, what a bleak reality to live in. I think,
But I mean, to maybe cut through the bleakness a little bit, I think that's why you're seeing candidates who are
Right.
offering a way out. That someone like Zohran Mamdani, they're campaigning on, we want you to be able to afford to live in the city where you work, and a positive vision of, we want to build public transit. For example, again, my older sister is now a DSA member on the Atlanta City Council, ran on expanding public transit, that people want to be able to take the train to work. People want to be able to take light rail and take the bus instead of being stuck in traffic, which, if you know, Atlanta traffic is just horrific. And that we have, I think, just the beginnings of a political offering of a positive vision, that we want to build something, and we don't just want to tear things down, and we don't want to just keep doing the same thing over and over again that hasn't worked for decades.
Absolutely.
So I think we have to cut through the bleakness and say there is a way to push forward and build something.
Yeah, I'm not the type of person to believe that, every person out there is out to make the world worse, or every person is out for themselves, or, I'm not a person that believes in a nihilistic approach on life. I really do think that as all of this has arisen, more people have woken up and realized, hey, it's time to start working towards a more positive light towards this.
I think within, like, for example, with the flights and everything, it's showing that this let them eat cake mindset that a lot of people are starting to have. They're starting to really feel it, especially with flights, because like you said, higher class people, that's more of a casual thing for them. So things like that being affected, there may actually be real genuine progress and real genuine resistance against this and what's going on, because these people too are getting taken away from.
It definitely feels like more different than it has in the past few years, because I think an actual change is happening. I can feel it.
Zohran, he had over 1 million. How many votes did he have? It was a lot. It was a huge
He
turnout.
had a massive majority.
Yeah.
Like, well over, there was well.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was over 50%, so he made it past the threshold where there might have been a runoff.
Yes.
Which is, again, the same, my older sibling, shout out Kelsey Bonnet, Atlanta City Council District 2, 64% of the vote in a 5 or 6 way race. And all the other races for Atlanta City Council that were competitive, the highest percentage anybody got was 33%. And the reason is they weren't saying, so again, Kelsey refused corporate donations and said, we're not going to listen to Uber, we're not going to listen to Amazon, we want to build transit, we want to lower the cost of housing. And that'll get you 64% of the vote. Saying, oh, we're going to let the developers do whatever they want, and we're going to let ICE do whatever they want, that gets you 30%.
Yeah, very interesting. Let's take another break, and then we'll come back and lighten it up a little bit. I got a couple of other stories that we'll get your take on in a second. You're listening to News You Need on Southern Miss Radio.
Since 1927, the Student Prince has been a direct conduit to USM students. Get your share of the more than $600 million USM brings into South Mississippi by advertising your business or service in the Student Prince. To find out more about how to advertise in the Student Prince, email sm2sales@usm.edu.
The NLS Braille and Talking Book program gives patrons with visual or physical disabilities the freedom to read their way.
If you want to read in electronic braille, you can. If you want to read on your phone, you can. If you want to read in heart print, you can.
Everybody can read the way they want to read using this program.
For more information about the National Library Service for the Blind and Physically Handicapped Library of Congress, visit loc.gov/thatallmayread.
Hey, you're listening to News You Need here on Southern Miss Radio. So the story that's gotten the most attention from the nation and the most on-brand Mississippi story ever is the rhesus monkeys in the truck wreck outside of Heidelberg. And as of yesterday, the very last monkey that was on the loose has been found and captured. That's what authorities said yesterday. So it's, like I said, it's the most on-brand piece of news from Mississippi, I think, ever. Did that come up in you guys' conversations at all? I mean, it's kind of hard to ignore, right?
Yeah, well, and there was that controversy of do they have hepatitis, don't they have hepatitis?
right,
and
exactly.
I think Tulane insists that they did not, they were not diseased, but there was some uncertainties, and I think that led to some fatalities for the monkeys.
That's true.
Unfortunately.
It was certainly the most funniest headline I've heard in a very long time. Me and my friends giggled our butts off, and also even had debates on like which monkey would you rather have to fight. I think I chose hepatitis.
Yeah, that'd probably be you find someone that's weak and then just go ahead and get that one right. You know what that. But what an interesting story. Another one. If I say the name Zania Monet, does anyone know that name? You don't. You may not ever, but it is the first AI-powered artist to debut on the Billboard Airplay chart. An AI artist was just signed to a $3 million record deal with Hollywood Media after a bidding war. So far, Zania has 154,000 followers on Instagram, and that's just Instagram. But the mind behind Zania Monet is a Mississippi person. Talisha Nikki Jones is a poet, wrote all the lyrics, and used the program Suno to craft the songs and whatnot. So with AI being a huge part of a lot of things and even getting worse, and some people say the tipping point's already passed. What do you guys think about your AI pop stars being part of the mix now?
Oh, brother, get a load of this guy. Oh my god. I'm so tired of giving I'm so tired of giving this attention at this point, because it's just, we understand that it's slop, right?
Yeah.
We understand that it's just the most nothing garbage that is being reproduced to us, and it's stealing both like other people's art and resources from the earth. Like, it's actively causing loss of water from different like places.
Right.
So,
it's like you don't need to boil the entire Mississippi River to have a blues band play or
Right.
a pop star play, or whatever you want to do.
it is not that hard.
And it's like, I want to hear a real person make real art who has real feelings to express. And I'm not trying to dismiss. I'm not aware of this poet who wrote the lyrics, and
Right.
I'm not trying to rule out that maybe there's something that an artist could do using an AI tool. That I'm not trying to completely dismiss this artist. But to the extent that we're just going to have an automatically generated song, I don't know what the value of that is.
It seems like companies will do everything in their power to avoid having humanity.
Yes.
And creating an AI artist is just another way to have control over an idea or a version of a person, rather than just giving people the proper resources and the proper pay, just doing things the right way to save on money. All of this is just a money grab, and AI usage for everything is genuinely just to avoid having to deal with the fact that you have to treat people like real people and give them real resources.
You know, it's the RIA, was the Recording Industry Association of America, is actually suing Suno and Udio, which those are two pieces of software, two hardware platforms that people use to create AI music, and they represent Sony, Warner, and Universal. Well, it just so happens that Universal settled their suit with Udio, but here's what they're doing. Instead of shutting Udio down, they partnered with them, so you can no longer download Udio songs, but they're going to host their own little site platform for people to go in and create more AI music.
Oh my god.
So the Universal's getting into bed with the devil over their AI platform.
And about the person housed in Mississippi, or take place in Mississippi, there are so many artists.
Yeah.
Especially here in Hattiesburg alone, there are so many like musicians, and there are so many places that you can find expression of that all over Hattiesburg and Mississippi. So you would really think that you could just reach out to people, and
But then you'd have to pay them.
that's the kicker. Another thing, I also recently saw that Coca-Cola has unveiled another Christmas ad that is entirely AI generated.
I heard
Wow.
The last one was like, holidays are coming, holidays. It's just
Yeah.
slop.
Just
It
garbage.
just doesn't make
Like,
any
what-
sense. And it's like, I guess I'm thirsty now. Sure, why not?
Man,
Yeah, so it's going to end up being a AI versus AI versus AI. You got AI bots responding to other AI bots, and just the rest of it's kind of gone away.
Well, yeah, I think that it's part of the dead internet theory that there's no
sure.
longer anybody in the chat room. It's just bots talking to bots, trained
Right,
on bots that talk to other bots.
Right.
People using ChatGPT to formulate their arguments, and then the other person is using ChatGPT, so it's just two
As the counter.
ChatGPT robots
Exactly.
fighting.
Right, and
ChatGPT make my shopping list.
I'm teaching biology right now and having to, because we can detect the AI with
Right.
Turnitin, and I've got to tell these students, like, please rewrite this or you'll get a 0, because to write is to think it out. You're learning by going through the process of writing and making mistakes. That you make the mistake and then I can, as the teacher, say, here's where you can improve. But if you never even go through the process of writing it or creating the art, creating the music, if you don't go through the process of creating it, you never had a thought at all.
and I'm seeing so much AI like day to day, not only day to day in like, just general social media and media in general, but also on campus and here at Southern Miss. And I just hate how engulfed we have become in this buzzword that is AI, just this hot topic. Ed Simpson, shout out. He says it best, learn the platform. You don't have to love it or anything like that, but learn it and learn your way around it. But I've learned my way around it so much that I'm just like tired of it floating over my head every day of my life. It's become like a plague to me.
I think it. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go.
I think it kind of is a plague. Like, I feel like there's starting to be a delay in mental development, intelligence, especially like with the use of ChatGPT and all these different AI versions in every facet of like school, elementary, high school especially. People don't write a single essay anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody's thinking for themselves. The AI does, and the AI is incorrect sometimes. So it's just so much information, and that's leading to this large gap in intelligence between generations, I think.
Yeah, no, and I told my students the other day when I called them out for the AI, I told them 2 things. Well, one, if you're using AI to do all of your work, it's going to be really easy to replace you with AI. But even worse than losing your job to AI is losing your own thoughts to AI. Yeah. That now you're not even thinking for yourself. You are just parroting you're copy pasting from something that at the end of the day is just trained on Reddit posts. Yeah. If you want to figure this question out, you can search it and look through Reddit, which is what ChatGPT is trained on anyway.
That's the fun part about it.
Yeah, it's like navigating the chat room yourself where maybe there were other people, but I don't know how we get back to the golden age of the internet where you're actually talking to a human being.
Can I have cheeseburger? I mean, let's go back to the OGs here. So as per tradition, we've gone way over time as we always do. So I hope that Dr. Simpson and Dr. Hale will be happy to know that we've once again gone over time, and that's fine. Big thanks to producers Annabella Laird and Lily Berghardt. Engineer Liam Keenan doing a fantastic job behind the board. Video engineer Isabella Michaud. And if you missed this show or you want to go check up on it or any of our other shows, you can find it on the Southern Miss Student Media website, which is sm2media.com, or on the Southern Miss Student Media YouTube channel. Come back and join. I guess Dr. Simpson will be back next week, and you may like him better than you like me anyway, so come back and join him for that. And we'll see you next time on News You Need. Bye-bye, y'all. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
This has been News You Need with Dr. Ed Simpson. News You Need airs Friday afternoon at 12:30 on Southern Miss Radio.
Southern Miss Radio is WUSM Hattiesburg student. Southern Miss Radio is WUSM Hattiesburg by students for students.